Hello and welcome. This is a guide for Dark and Darker by Iron Mace Games, currently in Alpha Early Access. In this video, I'll be laying out a complete system for overcoming the very steep learning curve in the early game. This video is accurate as of June 2024. My goal with this system and this video is to aid you in the formation of good habits while steering you away from development of bad habits, while lending you a yardstick so that you can chart your own progress as you improve. The advice herein is applicable to all classes. Let's get something out of the way right now. You're going to die. A lot. You're going to be learning new maps, how to fight monsters, how to fight players, and the nuances of your chosen class. When it comes to players, you will regularly be up against veterans, opponents who have hundreds, if not thousands of hours of experience with the game. If you adhere to the advice and these guidelines, you will be well on your way, and you will quickly stop being prey and be able to play this game on your own terms. This is not a lazy tips and tricks video. This is a comprehensive system designed to help you improve. Don't feel like you need to watch it all the way through or watch it in a single sitting. I've broken this topic into chapters for your easy viewing. I hope you get something out of this video, and if you do, kindly give it a like and consider subscribing. If you have questions or comments, ask them in the comments section below or on my Discord. I will update both the comments and this video over time as we see large changes and the introduction of new systems. The first question you might ask is, Koopa, what class should I play while I'm learning the game? Short answer, play whatever you'd like, but if you want the easiest time possible, the time and space to focus on mechanics, and enough room to breathe, if you are thinking about playing a melee class, play the fighter. If you are thinking about playing a caster class, play the cleric. Now the complex answer, positioning, or where your character is relative to a threat, is extremely important in Dark and Darker. Each of these classes, the fighter and the cleric, will teach you fundamentals about positioning from both a melee and a ranged playstyle. Both classes are extremely tough, with access to a broad selection of armor types. Both classes have great sustain and the ability to recover from close fights or just patch yourself up after a bad fight with AI. Both fighters and clerics are extremely versatile inside the meta. They have multiple specs and multiple builds that can play multiple roles. Learning either will allow you to play multiple roles if and when you choose to explore group play. Which brings us to an overall strategic objective and an orientation. If you are new, here is the truth. If you don't have some help, you are likely going to spend hours dying on repeat. I'm recommending a defensive playstyle until you either have opportunity or confidence, which allows you to switch up your game. Learning these things in this order will give you the best chances at success and decrease your overall time in the hurt box, which is the early game. These are the most valuable things you can do as a new player. All of these lessons can be learned at level 1 with no gear in normal lobbies. When going into each new game, focus on this list of priorities and make your decisions in-game in furtherance of these macro objectives. Got some extra time left after securing your exit? Stick your nose into a new module and explore. See a sub-boss or a monster you've never fought before? Give it a try. You can always dip out if things aren't going your way. Gaining XP and completing quests are the results of good fundamentals, but not the objective. Now, this is a hot take, but here is a list of things which are not strategic priorities and areas to avoid, at least early on. Don't get me wrong, PvP fights are fun, but in terms of best returns on your time investment, it's a costly distraction. You have a lot of ground to cover, and we will circle back to fun PvP and limit testing our builds after we get a few games under your belt. With regard to gear, here is this turtle's central gear philosophy. You never own gear in Dark and Darker. You are merely borrowing it. We will only be picking up gear in the dungeons that we can use right now on this run, and only if it's an upgrade to our build. When we get out of the dungeons, we'll just be selling all of our gear to vendors, not squirreling it away in our stashes nor selling it on the marketplace. It's good for this run only. It's a loaner, that's all. Koopa, you say, what if I find something that's really good? Well, the answer is you won't, or it's not really that special. It's possible you will find something neat and end up vendoring it and later regret it, but that's okay. The few gold it would be worth to you down the line is not worth the valuable stat space, nor your time, nor do you really have the experience nor the context to properly value gear. Picking up junk gear is a very, very bad habit and an easy one to fall into. Don't do it. The gear doesn't matter. So let's talk about basic movement and controls. Dark and Darker has pretty straightforward, fairly standard movement and controls. But as I mentioned earlier, positioning is extremely important, but it's an advanced topic. For you, as a new player, I'm only going to cover some of the fundamentals while pointing out a few gotchas. W moves the character forward. A and D moves left and right. S gets you killed. I'm only kidding, but only sort of. S moves you backwards, but at a much slower rate than your character's normal movement speed. It is always more advantageous to turn and strafe with A and D instead of using S. Avoid developing a habit of using the S key, particularly while you're fighting. It will cause you to take more damage in both PvE and PvP. Instead, learn that pivot 90 degrees in either direction and then move with W, A, or D. So the spacebar causes your character to jump. Control causes your character to crouch. Hitting spacebar and control at the same time will cause you to crouch jump. This puts you up into the air and pulls your legs up into your chest, allowing you to hop on top of things that are roughly waist height. Shift, if you hold it down, will allow your character to walk very slowly. This allows you to make slightly less noise than you make normally. Hitting the G key will cause your character to sit down on the ground and slowly regenerate health up to your recoverable health limit, as well as slowly returning spent spell slots. F will interact with items you find in the dungeon, like chests, levers, shrines, doors, and exits. Q will use your first character's ability. E will use your second character's ability. R will reload any ranged weapon currently in your hands. X will put away any item currently in your hands, which will increase your character's movement speed significantly while they're stowed. Left click and right click are both context sensitive, which is a very nerdy way of saying what they do depends on what your character is holding in your hands. If you're holding a weapon in your main hand, left clicking once will swing that weapon once. Holding down left click will play through that weapon's entire attack chain. Similarly, if you are holding a weapon in your offhand, clicking right click will attack with that weapon once, and holding down right click will go through that weapon's entire attack chain. This holds true for utility items as well. You want to use a potion or a thrown weapon, you want to bring out a torch for some extra light, get those items into your hands first, and then left click to use that item. Spellcasting takes a little bit more work. Step 1. You must first have a spell readied. To do this, be sure to hold down either Q or E to bring up your spell wheel. Which key depends on which key you mapped your spell memory to. Move your mouse over the spell you'd like to ready, and then release Q or E. That spell is now ready to cast. Step 2. Make sure you have a spell focus in your hands, be it a staff or a spell book, etc. Step 3. Hold down the right click to charge whatever spell you have readied. When that spell bar is completed, releasing the right click will fire that spell at your target. For many spells like heals or buffs, they require a target, and if there is not a target under your reticle, the effects of that spell will apply to you, the caster. A little tip, if you're casting a heal spell and you intend to heal it on yourself, look either very up or very down to make sure you're healing yourself. Don't heal that rogue that's hiding in stealth right in front of you. Learning how to fight monsters in Dark and Darker is an essential skill for all new players. We are actually going to use your ability to fight AI in this game as a benchmark for your overall improvement and your progress through the early game. All monsters have a given attack or attack pattern based on the monster type and its rarity. Learning each of these attack patterns is important, but I have some tricks to help you get started. The most common problem for new players is dealing with mobs who have ranged attacks. Now, you can either choose to trade ranged attacks, if that's an option for your character and class, or you can fall back and drag ranged mobs to an obstacle or corner, which should allow you to take them down in relative safety. Now, most melee monsters in Dark and Darker are susceptible to a tactic affectionately called bait and punish. It's fairly straightforward. Move close to a monster to bait out its attack. Once you have either dodged or blocked that attack, punish that monster with an attack of your own. Bad monster. This is by far the safest way to handle most PvE in Dark and Darker, at least until you're ready for more advanced tactics. And when you are, I'm going to direct you to another YouTuber, Ryan 6 Days a Week, who has some great videos on dealing with more advanced mechanics. Links to his videos in the description below. Regardless, you should practice both of these techniques in all of your games until you feel very comfortable utilizing both approaches. When you are able to clear whole modules and sections of a map, having taken no significant damage from PvE, you are ready to become more aggressive and switch up your game. Okay, we are getting ready to dive into those dungeons. But first, we have two important stops to make, so let's hop on your character and head to the Merchants tab. First things first, each merchant with a gold medallion over their head, they have a quest for you. Let's take a second to look over all the quests that are available, accept them, and read for detail what you're being asked to do. Some quests involve extracting with certain items and turning them back into the merchant who gave you the quest. Other quests require you explore specific locations and specific dungeons or kill a certain number of monsters. Regardless, take a look at what you're being asked to do because it will inform where you go and what you do once we get there. Second stop, we're going to head to the Squire. This kid is fantastic. He has two jobs. First, he allows you to adjust your default loadout, your base starter gear, which is the gear you always start out with after you die. You can also swing by him anytime to get a refresh on starter gear, to swap out weapons or armor, to try something different, or just to get a handful of basic consumables. Best part about it, he does all of this work for free. No charge. His second job is to pop up and let you know before heading out on your adventure. He will make sure that you've checked your spec and your key bindings, but he'll also tell you if you're bringing in pieces of gear or treasure which is embargoed for that game mode. Regardless, he's a mensch, so please be nice to your squire. As you can see right here, I'm swapping out the arming sword for the falchion because I just prefer to play with that. I'm going to choose a pair of boots, in this case Dex, because I'm going a Dex heavy build. I'm going to swap out my shirt as well to a doublet, which provides Dex instead of plus hit points. And I'm also going to arrange consumables on my two belt bars, the 3 and 4 key, to get them in the order that I like to see them. And once I have my template all sorted here at the bottom, I'm going to commit those changes and then load myself up with that gear. Voila! I am now ready to go on adventure. So we've had a crash course in the fundamentals. We've covered the keybinds and we've talked to all the important NPCs. We are ready to start learning. Let's take a moment to review our strategic objectives one last time. So our big picture focuses will be on increasing our map knowledge, practicing our monster killing, and gaining XP, all while advancing those quest lines we just accepted. Because we are playing defensively, if we spawn in an area close to the center of the map, we want to start working towards one of the outside modules ASAP. And at the danger of oversimplifying, we don't want to be in high traffic areas, as you'll encounter more players the closer you get to the center. Our objective is to escape while learning as much as possible about the map, the monsters, and getting some money in our pockets won't hurt either. We want to keep our eyes sharp and our ears open. It's often the case that you will hear another player before you see them. Here is a very important tip. If you have the option to, always play with headphones on. Iron Mace has done a great job with the directional audio and sound design in this game. Your headphones are BIS. We want to hear or see potential opponents before they see or hear us. This gives us the choice about either evasion or engagement. But for right now, we are solely focused on evasion. Be cautious. Move slowly. It's good to check each door or exit on the perimeter of your starting module. Pause, stop, and listen. What is going on in that adjacent module? Do you hear monsters making monster noises? Do you hear the sounds of someone fighting? Is a player moving through that module in your direction? If you hear a potential enemy, you must assume that they will be hostile, and change your overall direction to move away from them while still heading towards the outside of the map. Take a special note of any shrines or static exits you find in your adventures. The static extracts will always be marked with a blue icon on your minimap. Portals, stairs down, and other mechanisms to descend to lower levels of this same dungeon will be marked in red on your minimap. We will loot every module. We will smash every crate and open all big chests. We are looking for quest items and health items, for sellable treasures, and any gear upgrades that we can rent for this run. Now, about 2 to 3 minutes into your game, you need to be on guard. You see, experienced players know these maps very well, and they also know where every potential starting location for another player can be. These aggressive villains will often push you in this time frame, with the hope of catching you fighting a monster or off guard by surprise. It is good to have a plan to kill or evade everyone you meet. As a mental exercise, have a plan of where you're going to run if you need to get out fast. Ideally, you'll be in a position to put AI or monsters between you and your pursuer, or failing that, close a few doors, make it really awkward to follow you. If you get caught flat-footed, you can plead for your life by explaining that you are a new player and this is your first run. You might even make a new friend. You can signal this intent by repeatedly pressing Control, your crouch button. This is the universal sign in Dark and Darker that you are not looking for a fight. Don't waste time. When the game is approaching the halfway mark, you need to have an exit strategy, and you need to be close to an extraction point. Finish up any looting, poke around the last few areas of the modules you haven't explored yet. You will get an audio cue to let you know that the stairs or the rope or the elevator or the raft that you're planning to take out is open for business. Take it. Sell all of your plunder to a merchant and invest that money in basic healing potions and bandages. Sell all of that rental gear you picked up in the last run and get ready to do it all again. On subsequent runs, as you begin to feel more comfortable, you can calibrate your aggression levels to your own personal tastes and include more PvP with fellow players and taking on new challenges like sub-bosses, multiple modules, etc. Here's a tip for you. When you're not at full health, what you want to do is reset. Resetting is about being 100% ready at all times for the next fight to break out. It means you want to be full health, with all abilities and all cooldowns ready to fire, all ranged weapons reloaded, all belt items stocked up and ready to go. Tip: when breaking into unfamiliar modules, it is often best to pull a few monsters back into a safer area, a known area, to ensure that you don't get swarmed. Ideally, you want to be fighting just one monster at a time. Try using your ranged weapons to pull monsters to you, or inch slowly into a new room to get as few monsters' attentions as possible. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed this and found it very helpful. This is the start of a new video series, the goal of which is to illustrate how this system can take a stock level 1 character of any class and get any player to a place of greater understanding of what Dark and Darker is. Most importantly, it will enable you to enjoy this game on your own terms. In the next video in this series, I will begin to layer in additional advanced concepts like the action economy, positioning, guile, counterplay, and misdirection. If you find yourself struggling, don't despair. Ask for help in the comments below, or pop into my Discord, link in the description below, and I'd be happy to run you through a few games, give you some pointers either by watching you play over Discord or by hopping into a duos game. If you got something out of this video, kindly like and consider subscribing. Until next time, Koopa out.